Hi, welcome to this special session here at the Multi-Unit Mastery Monday, where we are always sharing tips and information for you so that you can be successful. Today we have a very special session where I have a special guest with me today. His name is Curtis Moore, and he's someone that has been recently joined the Academy. And the reason I invited him is because he's been asking questions about the Academy and our history. And because today is our 6th anniversary, is why I decided, you know what, this will be the perfect chance to invite him to help us celebrate this anniversary, a special day for the Academy, and answer some of the questions that he has for us that I'm sure some of you that have been following up maybe have also questions about all these things. And we're going to make it very informal, very fun, and in a way that just naturally whatever comes is what's going to be. So there's a little bit different from our prior broadcast. But having said that, let me invite Mr. Curtis on. There you go. Hi, Curtis. Welcome
Hello.
to this special celebration. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Great. Well, thank you for joining me today, Curtis. Celebrate. Can you imagine 6 years? Did you even know we were doing that 16 years?
Had no idea until you mentioned this potential call. Had no idea.
Yeah.
That's amazing, actually.
Yeah. And I know that you, before I was able to convince you to join us, you were retired, enjoying your free time, having fun.
I still have the perfect life. I can still have my retired life and do this. So
yes, absolutely, for sure. So thanks for being here. And so I'm going to answer some of the questions you had about the Academy, and you have any questions along the way, whatever comes up for you is probably some of the things that people here are going to be wondering about themselves. So first of all, it's the 6th anniversary of the Academy. And for the last 6 years, obviously, we have been serving franchisees and their leaders and giving them knowledge and information so that they can be successful. And this is something that I decided to do, actually longer than 6 years ago, because of how much people were just reaching out, asking for help once they knew that I had left the corporate world. Now, you don't know this, but what happened was that I decided to take a sabbatical. After 25 years in my career, I decided to take a sabbatical, and I thought in that sabbatical I was going to be able to take time off. As you know, I have children. I actually, in that career, I was able to get married and have kids, and they were going into high school. And I said, you know what a perfect time to take a break in my career, see them into high school. And in the middle of that sabbatical, I started getting phone calls from franchisees that knew me before I took the sabbatical in prior brands. I even got phone calls from prior brands asking me to do special projects for them. And so my little sabbatical didn't last very long, obviously. And so that's how it all started. So that, one of the franchisees that reached out to me, he was just asking a lot of questions. And I said, you know what? He asked me, can you help me? And I said, I've never been a consultant. As you know, my whole career has been either management, operations, the headquarters. And so I didn't even know what it was to be a consultant or a coach or what to charge. And but what I did is I just spoke with him. And I asked, I already knew a little bit about his operations and his opportunities. And we made a plan specifically about what he needed to work on and what I could support him on. And he was literally the first client for the Academy. And that was the beginning of it all. July 18th, 6 years ago. So wow. Now you know how it happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
so
amazing.
Have you, in your career, because I know, you've been a franchisee, you've been a district manager, you've been a trainer, you did all these things. In between that, did you ever thought about doing consulting work?
No. When I was really diligent about being prepared for retiring. And I'll be honest, in probably the first 6 months that I retired, I had several calls for people to go and really go back to work, not as a consultant full time. And in some cases it was training, some cases it was operation. And I was just honest with, and these people that I liked, I respected them. And I just told them that I had made the decision. I didn't retire. And fortunately, financially, I didn't, in a lot of, I'm blessed that I wasn't pressured, didn't feel that financial pressure, that I didn't retire to turn around and go back and do that again. I wanted to enjoy this retirement life. I heard it was a pretty good deal. And we have traveled, we have gone to Cuba, and I mean, we took 2 years ago, we took a 6,200 mile, 32-day trip with our camper. And I mean, we have traveled a lot in amongst other things. So no, I never did. And I'll be honest, and you know, it was going to come up sooner or later. We might as well talk about it now. But when you first call me, and you can tell when somebody's got a question, but they're talking around it. And I didn't know what it was. And so finally you got to it and told me, you know, and I knew you were doing something. I just didn't know, the depth of it, and how polished it was. So I told my wife, and she said, so you think you might do it? I said, no, you know. And one of the options, someone had called me, it included getting on a plane every week, or most weeks, or a lot of weeks, and fighting, I live in Atlanta, fighting the Atlanta traffic and airport like I used to do. And I couldn't do that. There's no way I could do that. And
I remember how you and I used to compete to see how long it would take us from parking the car into the gate.
Oh my God, I want to be there. I want to be there in my seat at the gate an hour before. That's always been my plan. Aicha drives in the parking lot with 30 minutes before the flight. I'm about to have a heart attack. I remember
my record time was 17 minutes from parking in the in the parking lot, in the public parking lot in the airport, to the gate. 17 minutes in Atlanta airport.
I strongly suggest don't anyone try that. That's where, you know, I love you to death. We agree on a lot of things. That's where we kind of separate there. I want to get there early.
Yep.
Read the news, just take it easy.
Yeah.
And but yeah, and I remember the trick you showed me to park, which I always tried. It only worked one time, but it was a good trick. I'm not going to tell anybody. That'll come up later.
I can't share it because I still travel. I know you don't travel anymore. So the fact that you didn't have to travel or get anything, you know, and that's the great thing about, you know, one of the things that we learned, and I mean, I've been doing this for 6 years. So I've been using Zoom and technology and high tech for literally 6 years. The Academy's foundation has been, you know, technology, you know, and I had to learn. One of the things that I learned a lot early on was that while I might be a franchise expert, operations management, etc., I'm definitely, technology is not one of the things that I knew, but you have to learn in this day and age. And so now you know, the foundation of the Academy has been really with a lot of technology. And because of that, we're able to deliver this material and make it easy for facilitators like yourself to be able to join the group, join the organization, and being able to provide the knowledge and experience that, you know, that you have in a way that makes it easy for you and for the participant. Also, right? Because technology is definitely a foundation for that.
I was I was concerned as we got into our discussions. You know, I'm so used to people in front of me, you know, 40 people, 200 people, whatever. It's alive, and you're having give and take, and you can read faces. You can tell when somebody really, you know, that point just missed them, kind of thing. And I was worried about how this would work, and trying to follow what I've been thinking and what I now ultimately, you know, make sure it gets mentioned in our classes at the Academy, is you've got to use technology. Let it work for you, and stop saying, well, I don't know how to do that. I mean, we're not talking, I don't want you to be a programmer, but the things that everybody, that a lot of people do, take it as a challenge, figure it out and learn it. So I had to do that with Zoom, with your tutorials to me, showing me how to use it all. But it actually works. The ability to see faces, to ask questions, them answer back, not in a recording. I mean, it's live.
Mm-hmm.
It works
Mm-hmm.
incredibly smooth. I'm still amazed how well it works. And the point I use it in the same thing in the class, talking, my gosh, back in the day, if I'd have had Zoom to train AMs on food inventory, oh my gosh. I mean,
it would have been a whole other world, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And you came in, right? You came in right after we were already, 5 years into the academy, a lot of learning, a lot of changes, a lot of evolving, and seeing what our clients needed to be able to receive the knowledge and the information between the platforms, the tool, even the content. I mean, we have been evolving in the content, a lot, and how we deliver it and what we deliver, so that not only can they learn the information, but they can actually apply it. Because that's, one of the things that I learned early on, going back to the history of the academy. I was a consultant, I guess, for a little while, so that helping specific franchisees that were reaching out, people that knew me from my career and the years of that I've been in the industry, and reaching out for help, even corporations. During that time, I flew to Singapore, I flew to Peru. I mean, many places, helping large brands with some master franchise learning and knowledge and support. And so one of the things that I learned really early on was that I did not want to be a consultant, because what I noticed is that when I was being a consultant and I would be actually going to the franchisees locations, I was implementing the things that I knew, the knowledge, the tools, the resources, which was great while I was there. It was implemented, rolled out. But when I left, the person that was there, because they didn't have that knowledge, it would stop. It will continue for a little bit because of the training of the people that I have done. But with time, when I will follow up and check in, because of course my goal is that I want them to be successful, I realized that the information did not stick. And that's when I realized that, and the way that I separate coaching and consulting is that when you're a consultant, you do it for them on the behalf, which still a lot of franchisees still want me to go and, do their, teach them to do the inventory or do things on their behalf. What I have learned is that it doesn't work unless they get it, unless they see it, unless they understand it, and they can follow up, and then it will be implemented in the long term. And that's one of the early on changes that we did in the academy, and what we teach and how we teach it. So, and we moved from the consulting work into the coaching and teaching work that will follow up with also implementation and accountability. And so that happened in the year, 3, 4, somewhere in there, that transformation. And that has really changed, because what we want, as you have experienced, is for the franchisees to learn what they did not know that they didn't know, to learn the things that they knew that they didn't know, and of course being able to implement it, and so forth, so on. So that's kind of has been a little bit of the history, and then of course COVID hit. And wow, 2020 was very interesting for us, because we halted. And I don't know how much you know about this, but we were going along, we're working with people in the United States, people even in Mexico. We're literally international. And what happened in 2020 is we just stopped the expansion, stopped all that. And all we did is focus on the franchisees, the clients that we already had, and help them just overcome those first few months, literally from March, end of March through December. Literally, we did not focus on acquiring any new clients unless they came to us asking us for help. But in those 10 months or 9 months, all we did was with our existing clients is give them the focused guidance so that they could overcome this thing called COVID. And the great news that I have is that everybody made it. every one of our clients made it. In Mexico, one of them ended up closing operations. However, it was something that we have been recommending for months that he did. And COVID finally put him over the edge, which was the absolute right decision for him and his business. But other than him, everybody today is still in business. And so that's something that we're really, very happy about. So for sure. So obviously, so let's go back to, how, we invited you to join us. Last year, as you know, we launched so all along, since with the foundation of the Academy, we have been focused exclusively on supporting franchisees that have 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7 units with a commitment and a focus for growth, but they were stuck because of lack of systems, processes, procedures, or maybe not even knowing why it was difficult for them to manage the multi-unit operations. So that has been the franchises that we have been helping to go from 1 unit into a multi-unit enterprise, creating systems so that they can have a very smooth operation. However, as our franchisees were growing, and this is, by the way, the story of how the multi-unit leadership certification program came about, they were growing into multi-unit. And then, at some point I say, okay, you got to hire a district manager. We'll give them a guidance based on your business when you need to hire that person. And so they will hire that person. Then they will say, okay, I hired the district manager. What do I do with this person? What do they do? Right. And I'm like, well, you teach them about their role, responsibilities, and routines. And they're like, well, what are those? And so through that conversation, I realized, okay, so it was time for us to go to the next level and create something, a development program for those leaders. Because as you and I know, remember when I first took over of the operations of Domino's Pizza region here, we were here I moved from Michigan to Georgia, take over the region. At the time we had 63 restaurants in 3 states. One of them we had to fly over. Remember, that's when the flying thing, happened. And at some point in time, we had an opening for the district manager, and I looked to you and said, who's ready? And we're like, we don't know at this point. And how do we train people? And we're like, we don't have training. And then that's when you and I decided, you know what, let's collaborate and create something. You remember that?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So when I said that to you and about us just, not wait on the brand, not wait on anybody, but for us to create something, what was your initial thoughts at that point?
Well, I mean, I knew that it needed to happen, and I used it as an example in our information series leading to a new class, is that there is supervisor training going on. If there's a supervisor somewhere in America, they got trained. But the way they got trained, I'm not going to say 99%, but a large quantity, a large percent, good hearts, great work ethic, smart people, were terrific managers. And it turns out, well, just follow Bob next week. He'll show you what to do. And that's it. And if you're honest, a lot of people say, yeah, that's the way I got trained, Mm-hmm. And if you're lucky, Bob was really good and you picked up a lot of good habits and tips. But whatever Bob didn't know or was weak at, it unfortunately gets transferred down the line. Mm-hmm. So I knew that it was needed. And later, Domino's came up with an official class that I ended up, it was in the portfolio, one of the classes I would teach around the country with a few other people. But yeah, it was one of those things, sometimes there's training classes when there's maybe not a need for it. You're trying to solve a problem that maybe it's not there. This clearly was needed. And, mm-hmm. And I liked it that because there's just 2 of us, we could change on a dime. If something wasn't working, boom, change it right then. And I always say, people that you train and you put into supervisors, normally they were really good managers. So you've really got a vested interest. How sad to not train them. They fail and end up leaving the company more often than not. Mm-hmm. And now you've lost a supervisor and you've that slot for a great manager that they could have still been filling. You've lost that too. So no, it was needed. And I thought we did we made mistakes. We learned from it, but
absolutely. Yeah. And I remember we worked through that for 2 years. That's how long, from the time we started to by the time I left that position was 2 years. And through that, we developed a lot of people. Something that was really interesting is that we learned a lot about the people in that program. We learned who was going to be good and who wasn't going to be good, because we put things in place to learn those sort of things. So that was kind of the beginning of, the program that, we launched last year, and, the multi-unit leadership program. And I did the beta first. I created the program, did the content, and did a beta test first, and then did some tweaks, and then launched it after the half of 2021. But I knew at that point, based on how it was well received and all the information and the feedback from the participants, that it was something that outside, because the first people that went through it were our clients, district managers. And so as we got expanding it, that's when I realized, we're going to need somebody that can help, deliver this material. And that's how I thought about you. I figured of all the people that would, you would be one of the people that I would absolutely would love to have do it. And what a great thing. I mean, I think it's because you and I are so aligned in the commitment to our participants' success. Don't you think? I mean, it's not just about teaching, but it's about the success for them, right?
Right. I can't believe I'm 2 or 3 weeks into the third class that I've taught. It's unbelievable. I think I've heard you say it, and you've heard me say it, is when we tell them that, we're pulling for you. We want you to succeed. We really mean it. This is not, you paid your fee, so, let's get on through this. It's way more than that. I think back of like Eddie, in the class, 2 classes back, I guess, whatever. I still think of some people, and we still got to talk about that 6-month anniversary call to reach back to those people and just check on them, see how they're doing. And I think you never know, but I'm pretty sure the sincerity of that feeling that we have, wanting them to succeed, comes across. I hope so, because it's given in all honesty,
Yeah, no, absolutely, for sure. Yeah, and that's something that since I started this, like you said, we both have had great careers, and this is not something that we have to do. This is something that I know I started it as a passion and love for teaching. As you remember, as a director of operations, how many times did I do manager meetings and I stood in front and taught? I gave classes. It was not the role of the DO, but I just like teaching. And so I done that with Domino's. I done that with all the brands after that, because for me, I think that's one of the, and it's probably because in my career early on, after I was a, pizza delivery driver and assistant manager, pretty early, I became a training specialist for Domino's International. So I went around the world teaching and training. That was really, what I did for 5 years. Go around the world work with master franchisees, open new master franchises around, in different countries, and then go back and just train and teach people how to do the things. And I think that probably carried with me then, the rest of my career, because I realized the importance of teaching what And so I always loved doing it. And so I guess, people would think like surprised knowing that I was always in operations, always running, either regions or working at the headquarters in cross-functional teams, that I'm now just focused on teaching, when I never was an actual just trainer since that job, I guess. But I just love it. And I think that the transfer information, for me, there's so much knowledge out there that franchisees don't have that they need. And, and I would say that's one of, Curtis, that's one of the biggest challenges that we have had is explaining, when you buy a franchise, you're not buying everything you need to be successful, right? You're only buying the brand side, and so you were a franchisee, back in the day, how soon or how early did you realize that you were actually acquiring a brand and not the management side of the people and the financials and the P&Ls and, all that other side, the business acumen per se. How early on did you realize that?
Pretty quickly. I remember the Dunkin' in the Dunkin' Donuts I had, and by the way, I was right out of high school, went to flight school, was a helicopter pilot, went to Vietnam. And when I came back, I went through instructor pilot training, I don't know, 3 months. And you had to have memorized script on everything. I know how to do these maneuvers, but being able to tell someone else and show them at the same time while I'm doing it, I realized, whoa, that takes a little practice. And so for 9 years, I was teaching someone else or, check rides and coaching. So it's kind of funny when I think back, I guess I've always been doing this for a long, long time in one capacity or the other. But with Domino's, when, I'm out of the Army, I'm opening a Dunkin' Donuts, for crying out loud. I go to Massachusetts, I learn for 6 weeks. I come back and they had a tag team and they were there every day for 2 weeks, every day. And at the end of the 2 weeks, it was like they burned rubber out of the parking lot to get out of there and get back to their regular, easygoing life. And that's when you look around the building, you realize, uh-oh, I'm by myself. Yeah. Where'd everybody go? And it's a lot, everybody says, no, we give support. And when the franchise owner calls, somebody's going to pick up the phone and answer. And a lot of people have good hearts, they'll try to do the best. But if you think the cavalry is 2 blocks away and they're ready to come riding in and save you all the time, that's just not the way it works. That's just not the way it works. And you get the brand things, you get to use the name, you get to do the product or the service, the way somebody developed it that has become popular and well-known, you get the marketing, but there's so much. You got to either do it on your own, ask another franchise, well, who does your account? Oh, Joe Schmo. Well, you got his phone number? There's just a lot of things you have to figure out on your own. So when you earlier just mentioned processes and procedures, without the academy, your clients would be like I remember, just doing the best they could with it,
Yeah. And that reality really does not really kick in until after the opening, when you said everybody's there for the opening support, the opening support team is there opening, but once they leave,
boom,
the feeling of the fear, right? The concern, what did I just do? What am I, and then like you said, the people will call and answer your phone calls, but they're not going to be there. There's a certain comfort when they were there, right? Mm-hmm.
And it's really the worst time because every problem you're going to have for a while, problems with dealing with your employees or having issues with customers or maintenance or building facility problem, every time you encounter it for a while, it's the first time you've ever had to do that. And there's no one there to, now, a year later, 2 or 3 years later, I've handled this a couple of times. And so with experience, fear kind of moves aside, but initially it can be heart-rending, I think.
You know what? That's such a great point. You're right. Because at the very beginning, for the very first 6 months to a year, like there's going to be a lot of times that it's going to be the first time that you experience that, the first time you get a customer concern, the first time that you have an employee argument, the first time that somebody slips and falls, the first time that somebody gets burned, the first time that you have an issue with people not showing up to work or being, oh my God, you're right. So many first times of things, first time doing inventory, first time doing, oh my God. Yeah. And trying to figure out all those first times and things that had nothing to do with the brand, the product, the service, the image, the national marketing that you're buying when that you're investing in when you're getting a franchise, right? Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah.
which is interesting because, as you know, I think I've shared with you that most of our clients are already multi-unit franchisees. Those are the ones that stuck through all that first time of everything, and then overcame that and realized that they want to grow into multi-unit. And usually are the people that already went in with the commitment of growing multi-unit, because a lot of times, I don't know if you know this, Curtis, but there are give and take right now in the United States, 790,000 franchise units. That's how many there are in the US right now. And the average franchisee has 1.3 units each.
Right.
That means that the vast majority of franchisees are single unit. And basically what they have done is they have acquired the rights for a job, right?
I used to say that they bought a job. I hope they like it.
Yeah, exactly. They bought a job, and that's why it's only 1.3. The vast majority of franchisees, many of them, though, hope and dream of growing and having more units, right? But they don't have a clue how to do it. They struggle with the first one because of all that first times. And even after the first time and second time and third time and fourth time, they realize, even though it's the same situation, it's actually very different. And it's overwhelming sometimes, right? And when you are there, you're running it. So it's hard for you to see it as strategically speaking. And so they're there with the one unit, hoping to be multi-unit. So most of our clients are multi-unit people, franchises, either one unit, very few one unit that want to grow. Most of them are already at a 3 or 4, and they're just struggling to manage those, but they're committed to grow. And so those are really most of our clients. However, we have recently gotten a few that are brand new, either brand new, they haven't even opened yet. Get this, they actually understood at some point in time, and I don't know if through research or actually one of my clients said that he saw it in franchise forums, that franchisees were discussing all the things that the franchisor did not provide. And he realized, wow, okay, let me research these things. Right. And that's how he found the academy. And he's going through the program right now. He's already, 3 or 4 months into it. And I think his opening is in about 2 to 3 months, I think is his opening. So he's brilliant because he's setting himself for success. Now he has all of the great brand systems, product, service, image, but he's setting all of his management systems. And for us, that's like fantastic. But most of the franchise people, the new franchisees, they don't really know that they need this information until they're already open and the consultants are gone. And then they realize, oh, we don't have all of these things, right? And so that's when we usually get a call, at that point when they realize what they don't know. And then when they join us, they realize all the things that they did not know that they didn't know. So we get into that whole other perspective. But yeah. So when you found out that, because I know, we met for coffee here and there, and, we chatted a little bit because we always got, along very well. And you heard about what I was doing. Oh, I think that I had you review my book, right? The first book.
Yeah.
The content, right?
The one that's right behind you.
Yes, the one right there. Yeah. Let me see. I have a copy of it in here. Yeah, right here. The Franchise Fix. So you were the first one that saw it. You were the very first one that saw the manuscript. When you saw that, what did you think about the manuscript of the Franchise Fix, which is a summary of all the things, right? But what were your thoughts?
Well, I've always used, I don't know if I should say it, this expression with Aicha. She is enough energy for 4 people, and it's just, you're very, I guess your positives cover up where I don't have positives. You can go into that material and just stick with it, the nitty gritty, the details. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And it didn't surprise me that you were doing that at all. And it was something that you were quite experienced with, right? But to putting it all into a format, I was more than impressed. As impressed as I was, what impressed me the most is when she calls and asks about, it finally gets to the point, hey, how would you like to, I think you'd be great teaching one of our classes for multi-unit. And by the way, this is not all food, because we don't teach how to do the burger, how to we talk about the roles, routines, and responsibilities. Well, those are applicable to anybody. I mean, like right now we have a big franchise group of orthodontic people, if you can imagine. We've got a large tire chain of tire and automotive. I mean, so I have in my class, I've only got 2 or 3 food people, which I think is very interesting. But so she said, well, let me send you the material and you look over the multi-unit leader material. And that's where I was knocked out.
Wow.
So complete, so polished, so professional looking. And I guess there's 2 different websites, and I don't give away all the secrets. So there's two different websites. One's that we keep track of all the material that the participants are doing, and then another is video based. And everything was just super polished, and that really meant something to me, because I didn't want to, some fly by the night, really cheesy, you know what I mean, that someone out there, I'm sure, has done something. God bless them. But it was just, I told my wife, I was like, oh my God, you just can't believe, I can't believe how polished this thing is, how it looks good, sounds good. And again, that on the one hand, I'm super impressed. I'm still impressed by it. But on the other hand, it doesn't, if anybody I know could have done that, if it was a contest, I'd have to guess Aicha. It had to be Aicha that could do that. So I'm still very, that is a part that keeps me here, is that it's so polished, so professional. We really are helping. And I told you, as long as this doesn't seem like a job, I'll probably keep doing it. And Aicha and I have this joke. She knows there's kind of a line, I'm retired. And as long as I can feel like I'm still retired, everything's good.
Yeah, so. No, absolutely. I mean, that means a lot to me. Thank you, Curtis. And a lot of effort and time. And even though we did the beta last year, before you joined, there was a lot of thought put into it for a long time, actually throughout 2020, throughout 2020, that whole year that I said that we paused any marketing efforts or trying to acquire new clients or selling. I mean, at that point, everybody's just so concerned about their businesses, they couldn't even hear anything. Right. And so we just focused on our existing clients and in really developing the content of that program. And he went through the process of really, what do they need to be successful? I literally pulled out the things that you and I worked on way back then. That was kind of the launching pad, and then really made a whole list and talked to my clients. And as I was, servicing multi-unit franchisees and the district managers, asking them questions and developing it little bit by little bit. So through 2020, we didn't really launch the beta until March of last year, 2021. So it took quite some time to get there, which is kind of the process that we're going through now with the next program. But let's pause a little bit for that one. And so, and then of course the recording and the content and tools and the templates, and of course the workbook and all of it, because we wanted to make sure that it was going to truly deliver the knowledge for the people participating. Because I don't, it's not about taking somebody, it's not just about selling things, it's really to make a difference, which is why I just and I know that's been your value. That's one of your values, your personal values, that you want to make a difference. And because I know that is why I'm so happy that you are here with us. But so now, you're in your 3rd class. Look at that. I mean, it's amazing how things have gone through, and how has been your experience, and what would you say about what the participants are going through?
Well, that's a knockout, because when there's I won't go into all the details, but there's a final exam, and the very next day is a graduation on Zoom, live, in person, and kind of unrequested, but people talk about, and it's recorded. We record every class. and when you go back and look at what people just earnestly, uncoached, not even ask for, talk about how it's changed them, the way they go about it. Said, I didn't even really know what a supervisor was supposed to do. And they don't say I was just kind of thrown in, but we all know that's kind of what happens because they were a great manager. And so to hear people repeatedly, because you mentioned something earlier, I'd get on a plane, fly to Houston or wherever, teach a class, cover all the dominoes things, this is the right way things supposed to be done and so forth. But the bad news is I get on a plane and come back home. So if there's really going to be a change of behavior and ultimately leading to improved performance, it has got to be the follow-up coaching is done by somebody else. This person's franchise owner, if we're talking about a supervisor class, but it applies to all of them. Somebody on the ground with them has got to be diligent, or we find you go back 6 months later and that person's doing the same. They're performing the same way they used to perform. So really nothing changed. What I love about this class is that immediately it's almost like some people with a blank slate that they just didn't know what the roles was. And so when we give them, then Aicha's created this amazing list of templates for them to use as their own, take our logo off, put their logo on. And you clearly see people before the class is even over, because we have discussion. What are you doing different? We're 3 weeks in, or share with everybody anything that you're doing different than you were doing. And it's immediately, you can just see people, and because we don't have homework, but we do have action items that have been thought out that, if we're going to talk about something, then this action item lays out is a platform for them to actually put their feet on the ground with that particular subject, whatever, and actually do it. And the template maybe just be documentation for it, and they upload it. So if we just talked about something and then that was it, and their franchise owner is not going to follow up and coach, then 6 months later, they're going to be doing the same thing the same way. So I love it that I am clear that we're impacting people that had been thrown in, great heart, been a great manager, just had no specific routines, still stuck with and I'm not going to give our secret away, but they're still stuck in their world of to-do list, and no call to action on stuff, and frustrations mount, quality of life, that kind of thing. So to hear what I've heard people tell us over and over and over again, it's kind of heartwarming to me, knowing, to me, that's the sign that we're helping people,
And something that has been really a pleasant surprise is how many franchisees get so excited when they hear about the program and are so eager to invest in their people, because it's an investment that they had to do in their people that, is going to make a difference in their business, but it's still an investment that otherwise they wouldn't have done. And yet they are so committed for their success and, and of course for the organization, that they make the investment, and it definitely pays off, for them.
Absolutely.
Sure. And
Absolutely.
so it's that has been, really because of the initial excitement of our clients, our franchisee clients, about the class, is really what motivated us to develop it. And now that it's done, so many people, are excited about it, and it's growing, which is fantastic. And which then comes the next level, right? Because how it is, everything that we've done always is like hearing our clients, hearing the franchisees, what do they need, and develop those things for them. Because somewhere in my toolkit of 30 plus years experience, I'm sure I've done that one thing. And so here it comes up. And so I remember when, we went to the multi-unit franchising conference, as earlier this year, and I kind of dragged you to Vegas. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, we'll never forget that phone call.
Remember, he didn't want to be in the plane anymore, and he still got in that plane that one time. Anyways, our clients have said, how about training for the unit manager? But oh my gosh, when we were talking to the franchisees in that conference about the district manager program, they loved it. They excited. Many of them actually registered them to the next class. And then the next question was always, do you have anything for the unit manager?
I bet we heard that 50 times.
Isn't it amazing? I mean, I was like, wow. And so come back here and our clients asking for that again. And so guess what we're doing now? We are now starting to work in the initial steps of developing the unit manager class. And it is going to be focused on management, the business acumen, and leadership. Really, that's why, because obviously the franchisor trains them on operations, right? All about the product, the service, the image. You have an operations manual, you have training and all that. The brand provides that. So we are developing a program for the unit manager that is going to be focusing on leadership, management, and the business acumen. So now that you've seen the initial elements, what do you think about that, Curtis? I mean, that's not something that we thought about 3 years ago, and here we are now.
Yeah, it was amazing how many people have asked for that. I remember we had dinner with that large group that had gone through the class. One franchise owner had 55 stores. His son went through it, was in my class. And they even asked for it there. And I know it's a lot of work for you, but it's clear that if you're, because really this thing called joint, what do they call it? Joint
employer liability.
Joint employer liability. What I used to do, get on a plane and fly to different cities and teach, I did teach franchise owners. That one was the one that was probably a little more allowable now. But you'd go into a room full of supervisors, a room full of managers. They just don't do that anymore. And it's because this fear of being connected in a lawsuit with the franchise owner when something happens, and their way out of that from a legal perspective is they're very careful. I didn't have to experience that. That happened. It was just happening as I retired.
Oh, okay.
And so when we talk about managers, I would be willing to bet. Now, the franchise rep might be in the building a week prior and he's got the crew, but he or she is talking to the franchise owner. You have to be there. If you're not there, I'm not showing up. I will show you how to do whatever it is we're doing. And then the franchise owner has the manager there. But you're exactly right that there's so much of a manager's role and their responsibilities beyond, here's how you make the product. Okay, that's well and good. They have to know that. But there's so many things that just are left unspoken. And, God bless franchise owners, but there's more than one that probably doesn't do a really good job of transferring this knowledge, because having knowledge is one thing, and that's great. But the ability to transfer that to someone else through the spoken word, so to speak, that's a different skill set. And I think there's a huge number. It's almost this inversion. You have franchise owners in your command class, then there's a bigger group, a larger number of people, multi-unit supervisors, and you mentioned what, 795,000. And then you look at the retail outlets that aren't. It's like that. So there's a clear need for it. No question.
So I'm actually really excited about it. I mean, so far, we have gone through a few iterations. I've been thinking about it for probably this whole year, really, more since the conference. And now we are having a more defined outline of the content, and we're going to start developing it little bit by little bit, and the full launch. So if you're watching this and you are interested on either a training for a district manager or a training for a unit manager, and specifically on leadership and the business acumen of running a unit, just stay tight. Go to our website at www.americanfranchiseacademy.com. join our newsletter. We send out a blog every week, and then you'll be first to know when that happens, because we will obviously first talk to our clients, right? Because they're the first ones. So they are the first ones to be able to be exposed and learn about all that. But we should have information sessions and so forth, so on down the road when we're ready for it. But for right now, our focus is in doing what we're doing already, doing it well, doing it in a way that actually makes a difference. And that is our focus for that. And can you believe 6 years? I was talking to my husband about that. It's been 6 years since it happened. And it felt like, my corporate career really was like really long. And yet now it's been 6 years since I left my last corporate job. And, and now evolved this, the academy to where it is. Our team here, the academy has grown. We have community service managers, accountability coaches. We have marketing people. We have support. We have, it's just amazing how it's become something that you just had no idea, right? And so I'm glad that you were here with me today, Curtis, so that we could celebrate and share all this with the people, because I come here every week and do a live session, a training session every single week. And I figured, today was a special day, and I just wanted to celebrate it. But and because of that, I just share what we have done, the history of the academy, and how we came about and produced the programs that we have, and how we're working on the things for the future. Down the road, this is something that we're looking at. We're even going to get into franchisor systems, but that's down the road. Actually, that was supposed to be the next level, but there's so much request for the unit manager that we're going to do that first. We're going to focus on the unit manager, and then 2024 is when we're going to franchisor. But does that answer any questions you had about, our history and how this all came about?
When all that time, I thought you were on a beach somewhere, just enjoying life.
I know I do. I love this. And I found, I always love what I do. I always love my job. I really has been one of those people that have been very lucky to love what I do, and
me too.
Yes. I know that, you and I will go, we didn't work. We go to play and just have fun. And so now doing this is even more, because now I have, more control, right? On what to do and what happens. And it allows me to really do it. And, like our purpose, and one of the things, and I don't know if I share this with you, Curtis, but the ultimate purpose of the academy is to protect the American dream of business ownership through franchising. And that's really ultimately our purpose. Now, how do we do it? We do it by sharing knowledge and tools and resources so that franchise leaders can be successful. Right. But ultimately, that's what it comes. And I guess we all find our mission based on, things from the past or whatever. And I used to, very, very long time ago, before I even get into the franchise world, I had a little boutique. I was selling clothes in a little boutique after I got my college degree, thinking I knew everything to be successful. And within a year, I failed. This is many, many years ago, right? Over 3 decades. And I think once I closed that and I joined the franchise world, and I learned all the things that I was able to learn in the franchising world. And how important it is to have not only the brand, but the business acumen to understand how to make money from the brand. I think that's where we focus on, even though I have a lot of experience in franchise source systems and brand and product and all those. Being able to provide the knowledge that is not readily available is what really moves me every day. So thank you for joining the cause and joining the mission and joining our purpose, Curtis. And I know that you are right there with us in the same care for the people that are go through that program. So
Yep.
So that's all I have for now. I just, this was a different kind of session that I wanted to do. I don't know how many of you are going to watch this, but you know what? Thank you for watching whatever amount you are and learning a little bit more about us and our history and what we stand for and our mission and the things that we have been doing and what are we doing now and what's coming that I'm sure a lot of people are going to get excited about. So, but all in that, just to say that when you have special events like this in the life of a business, it is important to stop for a moment
Celebrate.
and celebrate, and celebrate what we have accomplished, and celebrate, and give thanks, right? Thanks for the team that has made it happen. Curtis, you have been here, the newest in the team. And so thank you for everything that you do, for our clients and for our team, for the academy. And also thank you for all the franchisees that from all the different, I can't even keep track of how many brands we service anymore, that have trusted us, right? To give them the knowledge, the tools, and the resources. Is really, we don't take it for granted. We honor that we get a chance to do that. And so thank you for that. And and for so many, industry leaders and influencers out there that recommend us and support us and encourage us all the time, that says, that's great at what you're doing. And that really also inspires us to keep going. So for all of you, thank you very much for this last, 6 years of doing this. And we are excited to be doing it for 6 more and beyond, and continue to make a difference in the franchise. So Curtis, thank you for being with me today and sharing this celebration with the world. It really makes a huge difference, the knowing that you're here, with me in this cause and this mission. And I couldn't think of anybody that would be better than that. So thank you for that. I really appreciate that. For getting out of your retirement. And
there's a line.
There's a line. I know. There's a line. I can't ask for too much. So for those of you that want to be able to learn from Curtis, you want to register to the district manager class right now. But he'll be doing it for a while. So that's a good. So having said that, thank you very much for all of you that have been, like I said, either in a team or our clients or supporters. It really means a lot. Thank you for these 6 years of amazing experience and making a difference, and looking forward for the next 6. So having said that, thank you everybody for being here, and we'll see you around. See you in the next session next Monday. Bye-bye.
Bye.